Hey everyone, Kevin P. McAuliffe here, and I am back again with another Boris TV tutorial. And as you can see in front of you, I've got a before and after shot where in the lower left-hand side you can see the original shot has a lot of flicker in it. And then in the upper right-hand side I have the same shot where the flicker has been removed, and it's been removed using the fantastic BCC Flicker Fixer effect, new to Boris Continuum Complete 8, and this shot fix was done right from within the comfort of my Avid Symphony timeline. Now, whether you're a media composer or Symphony editor, version 5 or version 6 user, BCC 8 has you covered by not only having a version of BCC for both 32 and 64-bit, but by also having powerful restoration tools at your disposal that will let you fix problems like this. Now, I know what you're probably thinking, well, I don't ever have flicker like that in any of my footage, and you know what, you might be right. But what about those pesky, as I like to call them, the auto iris camera issues, meaning you've got a great shot and suddenly, a truck drives by and the auto iris was left on in the camera and the iris opens and closes quickly and your shot either goes from dark to bright or bright to dark, and you end up having to get in there and keyframe it to try to get that fix to make it look smooth like it was never there. Well, let me tell you something. I've got an even easier fix for you, and it's called BCC Flicker Fixer, and I want to show you how it works right now. Okay, so let me quit out of QuickTime and let me Alt-Tab into Avid Symphony. Okay, so now that we're in Symphony, I do want to point out something before we start. Now, whether I'm working in Windows or Mac, Media Composer or Symphony, everything I show you is going to work exactly the same. Now, what's actually very cool about the BCC 8 plugins is that what I'm going to show you in Media Composer will actually transfer over into Adobe's After Effects. So if you're very strong in Media Composer and maybe not as strong in After Effects, you can take what you're learning here and apply it to your work in other applications inside of the Boris Continuum Complete plugin family. Okay, so I showed you in the example the before and after, but I want to show you the three shots that we're working with first. So let's just come up to our Flicker Fixer bin here, and the first clip is a light flicker. So I'm just going to hit play here. You can see just a very light flicker going on. We come down. In the original spot, we have some overexposure happening here, and there's the end. Now you'll see in the next shot, the medium flicker. If I come back here, I'll hit play. You got a sort of a very hard flicker going on. Exact same shot here. Very nice. Actually, I guess that's really not very nice. And last but certainly not least, I now have this auto iris issue where you can see things are sort of dimming down and coming back up to where they should be. And I really need to fix that. And in most cases, how I see editors fix something like that is they go in and they start keyframing, and they'll get in, they'll use the color correction tools, whether it's the lift gamma gain, to get in there and adjust things, but you really don't need to do that with the power of Boris Continuum Complete 8's Flicker Fixer. Let me show you how simple it is to use. Let's start out with the light flicker. What I'm going to do is just come right back to the beginning. I'm going to hit T on the keyboard on both Mac and Windows to mark the entire clip, and I'm going to hit B to edit it into my timeline. What I'm going to do is hit Control and 8 on the Mac, Command and 8 on Windows, and the first thing we need to do is obviously find the Flicker Fixer effect. Now things have changed around a little bit inside of Boris Continuum Complete 8. We now have our effects categorized into sort of their logical categories, and since Flicker Fixer is really an image restoration or an image fixing effect, we're going to actually find that right here inside of BCC 8 Image Restoration. And you'll see Flicker Fixer is located right here. Now what I want to do before I apply this is I just want to find there we go, that's actually perfect. You'll see right there is where we have an iris change. And I want to go to the lower value. There we go. Okay. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take Flicker Fixer, I'm going to drag it down here onto the clip, and I want you to watch what happens over here in the record window. Here we go. I'm going to drag it down, I'm going to drop it, and here we go. I'm going to let go. You'll see a very slight luminance shift up, bumping the image up. Now you'll see what happens is that if I drag through, it looks like most of that flicker is gone. I don't know, is that even possible? Is it possible that this effect pretty much works on its own and there really isn't much you're going to need to do to fix these shots? Well, let's find out. I'm just going to render the effect here. You'll see the effect renders very quickly for an HD shot. I'm going to come back to the beginning of the timeline. I'm going to hit play now, and you'll see that all of that flicker is now gone. Now, how do I know that it's gone? Well, let's take a step into the effect here. Let's take a look at what's going on. Because the first thing I always like to show people inside an effect like this, I'm just going to come all the way back, is I love compare mode. Compare mode is a feature that's been added inside of pretty much every effect inside of Boris Continuum Complete 8. You'll find it right up here, compare. I'm going to drop down compare, and I'm actually going to turn on the compare mode, and you'll see a line has now been drawn separating the left side and the right side. Now if I step out of effects mode with compare turned on, it's going to be left on, but that's actually what I want to do. So I'm going to step out of effects mode and I'm going to render this shot again. I'm just going to say okay. Again, in a matter of seconds, this shot will be ready to go. There we go. Now what I'm going to do is hit play, and we're going to get a comparison, much like I showed you in the introduction, between before and after. Take a look at the difference. Before, obviously, on the left, after on the right. Let's just go back to the beginning where that sky is. That is really unbelievable, considering that I didn't really even need to do anything to fix this shot. Now I'm just going to come back here for 1 second, and let's just step in because I want to show you really what you're going to be adjusting when you apply this effect. So let me just turn compare mode off for a second here. Really where most of your work is going to be done is right here inside frame analysis, right there. Now, basically what's going to happen is the first thing you need to decide is, okay, well, what type of flicker fixing do I want to do? Do I want to do a frame analysis? Do I want to do a temporal smooth RGB or a temporal smooth YCC? Now, in most cases, probably about 99% of the time, you're going to be using a simple frame analysis. Now, the time window is really what you're going to be adjusting. What that basically is doing is telling the effect how many frames forward and back you want it to compare to really set that sort of baseline for what's going to be smoothed out, or what flicker is going to be smoothed out in your shot. Now, obviously, the faster the flicker, you may want to get in and add a little bit of smoothing to it, which you see you can actually do right down here under smoothing. Now, last but certainly not least, really in this section, is you're going to find in some shots what's going to happen is you're actually going to have just one area of the shot that you may need to get in and adjust the flicker. And maybe you don't need to adjust it in the entire shot. Maybe you only need to adjust it inside of a region. Well, you'll see down here we have the sampling top left. You'll see I can come in, I can adjust that X point. It's actually way up here. And what I can do is also adjust the bottom right. So let's just say I wanted to sample just a little area. Let's just grab it and stick it up here. So what we're going to be doing is sampling an area just in here to do our flicker fixing. So you'll see, very cool. You can get in and isolate ranges inside of the effect that you're going to want to get in and do your flicker fixing to. Very cool. Okay, so I showed you how simple it was sort of on this very light flicker. Now let's step it up a little bit and let's take a look at that medium flicker. What I'm going to do is I'm just going to remove the effect altogether, and I'm just going to remove that shot from my timeline. What I'm going to do is take the medium flicker, again hit T on the keyboard, I'm going to hit B to edit it into my timeline. What we're going to do is come right back to the beginning here. Let's just make sure, there we go, I was in effects mode there. You'll see we got this hard flicker happening now. A little bit of a step up from what we had before. Let's just do the exact same thing. What I'm going to do is I'm going to take Flicker Fixer, I'm going to take it, drag it right down here, drop it onto my shot. Now what I'll do again here is I'm just going to undo that. Let's find a frame, there we go, where we have a dip in the brightness values. Right there I think is good. Again, Flicker Fixer, we'll drag it and drop it on. You'll see, there we go, all the luminance is bumped up a little bit. I don't know, let's just give it a whirl. Let's just render this out and see what happens. You'll see again, very, very fast to render. I'm working in DVC Pro 720p HD, and you'll see that took about 5 to 6 seconds to render, which is about half the length of my clip. What I'm going to do again is simply just hit play, and guess what? All that flicker has been removed. Now let's actually take a look at how much of that flicker has been removed again in compare mode. Just turn compare mode on. You'll see all of a sudden the left side of the screen adjusts itself. I'll just render this out again here. And here we go. There we go. Very nice. Let's just come back. Take a look at how much of that flicker the effect has taken out on its own. And this really tells you a lot about the team that's gone in and created this effect, creating the unique algorithms that let the effect get in and essentially do all of the analyzing for you. You'll see another effect, you have to get in, you have to make adjustments across the effect. Really the only adjustment I'm going to need to make is actually in the next clip, which is the auto iris issue that I have. So let's take that auto iris issue right here, and I'm just going to, let's just remove this effect from the timeline here. There we go. See you later. Drop this in. Now, again, you'll see it's just a very, very slow move. But what I'm going to need to do is adjust the time window for this. So let's take the Flicker Fixer effect. I'm going to drag it down here, and what I'm going to do is I'm just going to render this out, and let's see what it does by just leaving it on the standard setting. We'll see how much of a fix this gives us. There it is, it's done. We're just going to come back. You'll see we still have a bit of it going on here. Why? Well, because I'm really only analyzing a very short amount of the actual clip itself. So what I'm going to do is step into effects mode. I'm just going to take the time window and just crank it way out. Let's just set it at 20, okay? What I'm going to do now is simply render the effect out. And when it's done, just like such, I'm going to come right back to the beginning, and guess what? I've pretty much eliminated all of that flicker in the shot just by adjusting the amount of frames that are being analyzed when we do this effect. What I'm going to do, again, step in, Shift Y on my keyboard. That's my shortcut for effects mode. If you need to get into effects mode, no problem. You can get into effects mode right down here by clicking on the effects mode button. Okay, so let's come up to our compare mode. Let's just turn compare on. You'll see huge difference between the before and the after. Let's just render this out. Make sure I press the right shortcut here to render this out. There we go. Shift F2 is my shortcut to render. I obviously can render it over here in the effect itself as well, or I can render it right here from within my timeline. Now let's take a look at this, and you'll see what a huge difference between the before and the after. And what I'm going to do here is I'm just going to come back into the effect. We'll just turn compare mode off and give it one last quick render, just to show you how amazing this truly is. This is something that could easily take you, minutes, even up to an hour to get in and adjust this manually, whereas really in a matter of seconds using BCC8's Flicker Fixer, I've pretty much fixed this shot. Very nice. So I hope you see that inside of Boris Continuum Complete 8, we not only have a bunch of very cool effects that we can add to our work, to really enhance it and really wow our clients, but what we also have is some really essential tools, some image restoration tools like Flicker Fixer that are not only designed for a specific task like fixing flicker, but what they also do is just save you a massive amount of time from having to do the work manually. So if you have any questions, you have any comments, or you have any tutorial requests, you can send them to support@boriseffects.com. This has been Kevin P. McAuliffe. Thanks a lot for watching.